Father, Reverend Dr. Dominic Xavier SJ, Principal, St. Xavier's College Autonomous Kolkata, Reverend Father Peter Arukyam SJ, Vice Principal, Department of Commerce Evening, BMS and NCOM, our Professor in Charge, Dr. Tridip Sen Gupta, Working Committee members and attendees. I heartily welcome you all to the theme launch event of the Hult Prize St. Xavier's College Kolkata On-Campus Program 2023. Ever since its inception, Hult Prize has been more than just a non-profit social organization. It has been a dynamic multicultural community that educates, creates, inspires, and connects some of the world's most forward-thinking business talent. At Hult Prize SXC, we aim to flip the traditional approach to education by using learning by doing experiences to transform students' skill set from the moment they join us to the time they graduate. With the blessings of Father Principal and the unwavering support of all our Vice Principals, we made it to Nairobi last year for the On-Campus Awards in Kenya. Without further ado, let us take a sneak peek into the most awaited moment of the day, the theme reveal for the On-Campus Program 2023. We welcome Reverend Dr. Joseph Kulindai SJ, our Vice Principal for the Department of Commerce Morning. As we saw in the video, the Hult Prize theme for 2023 is redesigning fashion, where students will be expected to launch innovative social ventures in the clothing and fashion industry to make it more sustainable. As we begin the theme launch event, I would like to request our Professor in Charge, Dr. Tridip Sen Gupta, to kindly join us forward and felicitate our respected dignitaries. Sir, if you could please join us. Thank you, sir. I would like to request Father Principal to join us on stage for felicitation. I request our campus director, Umang Agarwal, to felicitate Father Principal along with Father. Our Hult Prize team member will kindly escort Father. Thank you, Father. Professor Bertram Da Silva, Vice Principal, Department of Arts and Science, unfortunately could not be present amongst us due to certain predicaments. However, we are forever grateful for his everlasting support. I request our Professor in Charge and our Deputy Campus Director, Arun Charles, a third-year student of BSc Economics, to kindly felicitate Reverend Dr. Joseph Kulindai SJ, Vice Principal, Department of Commerce Morning. Father, if you could please join us. Thank you, Father. I request our Professor in Charge and our Deputy Head of Marketing, Sanika Gadia, a second-year student of BCom Evening, to kindly felicitate and present a token of gratitude to Reverend Father Peter Arukyam SJ, Vice Principal, Department of Commerce Evening, MCom and VMS. Thank you, Father. Dr. Charlotte Simpson Vegas, The Vice Principal for the Department of Education could not join us due to certain predicaments. However, we are grateful for her everlasting support. I now request our beloved Father Principal to kindly deliver the inaugural address.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I have a very bad throat, hope you excuse me. Reverend Father Dr. Peter Arakyam, the Vice Principal. Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Kulandai, the Vice Principal. Professor Tridip Sengupta, Professor in charge of this event. The guests, professors and our dear students. As we all know, Bill Drayton wisely advocated, I quote, "The job of a social entrepreneur is to recognize when a part of society is stuck and provide new ways to get it unstuck," I quote. At St. Xavier's College, Autonomous Kolkata, we have always encouraged our students to pursue opportunities for the greater good of the society. Ever since we have joined hands with the Hult Prize Foundation, our manifesto to better the society and thrive in it has only amplified. Be it persuading students to imitate innovative business plans or execute envisioned possibilities, Hult Prize St. Xavier's College, Kolkata has been successful in changing the thought process of students in our college through social enterprise. The credit goes to our students. So let us put our hands together, appreciate our students, all these people together. We take immense pride in hosting the 4th edition of the Hult Prize OnCampus Program 2023 this year. Delving into the world of glitter and sparkle, the Hult Prize theme for 2023 is redesigning fashion. As we launch the theme for this year today, I hope to see you, our dear students, come up with ideas and plans that will make the clothing industry and its products more sustainable to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. I also take this opportunity to welcome our speakers for the day. Whole indelible knowledge and unfazed experience will facilitate your understanding of the theme. My warm welcome to Ms. Sujata Chatterjee, founder of Twill.store, Mr. Harshul Arora, founder and designer at Date, Ms. Sneha Bafna, founder of Sneha Bafna Label, Ms. Sana Agarwal, founder of Goa Dash, Mrs. Madhumita Sharkar Guho, founder and CEO of Lux Living, and Mrs. Vinita Gadiriwala Gupta, founder and director of Earthwork Retail Private Limited. I also take this opportunity, this moment, to convey my heartfelt appreciation to Hult Prize Team members, especially their campus director, Umang Agarwal, who under the guidance of their professor in charge, Dr. Tridip Sengupta, have worked day and night for the last few months, and also many other people, to execute ideas and convert them into reality today. We are proud to host an initiative that is so pervasive and pioneering in its approach. I hope that after this event, the fashion industry is no longer just about glamour and frills, but also a contributor to global metamorphosis. With these few words, I would like to wish our students all the very best for this revolutionary initiative. Thank you very much. May God bless us all.
Thank you, Father, for your wise words. I would now like to request our professor in charge and Father Principal to kindly felicitate our speakers for the day. Father, if you could please join us. I request Ms. Sujata Chatterjee, founder of 12 Store, to kindly join us for felicitation. I request our campus director, Umang Agarwal, to kindly escort ma'am to the stage. I request ma'am to kindly take her seat in the audience. I request Ms. Sneha Bafna to kindly join us for felicitation. I request Father Peter to kindly felicitate ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Father. I request Father Joseph Kulindai to kindly felicitate Ms. Vinita Ganeriwala Gupta. Thank you, Father. Thank you, ma'am. I request our dignitaries to kindly take a seat. I request Father Principal to kindly stay back and felicitate Mr. Harshal Arora, who has just joined us for the event. Thank you, Father. I take this opportunity to introduce everyone to our first speaker for the day, Ms. Sujata Chatterjee. Ms. Sujata Chatterjee is the founder and managing director at 12 Store. She is also the president of WICCIWB, Sustainable Business Council, and the industry has recognized and awarded her several times for her eco-friendly innovations. She has been awarded the title of Exceptional Women of Excellence by Women Economic Forum and the Rising Women Entrepreneur by the Indian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today for the event. I would like to request our dignitaries to kindly...
Can we all stand up as a mark of respect as our dignitaries leave the auditorium? Thank you very much, Father, for coming to bless us in spite of your poor health. We are highly obliged. Thank you, Father.
Thank you, everyone. I request Ms. Sujata Chatterjee to kindly address everyone.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I think it's always more wonderful when I get to speak to such young, enthusiastic students, and especially those who are thinking of taking up entrepreneurship and redefining fashion, as is the theme this year. So I think, I'll just share with you a very little about the work I do. Not so much to tell you about what I do, but to more, convince you that you can do whatever you want as well. So I work in the realm of sustainable fashion now, but let me tell you what my background was. My background is actually in engineering, and I used to work in the IT sector in Hewlett Packard, HP. So that in a totally different world, in a totally different segment. And I did not have any inclination towards fashion, neither was I very interested in it. However, my journey into 12 Store started with a very personal problem that I at one point thought my own wardrobe was very full of clothes, and most of them I knew I wasn't going to wear again, I had outgrown that size, or I no longer like that color, and I so wanted to put all these things that I didn't want to wear to some better use. And I started asking everyone that, do you have this problem and what do you do about it? The funny thing was, all my friends and family told me, we have the same problem, but there's no solution for it. You just keep it here, there, under the bed, over the cupboard, and things like that. By the way, is this a problem you guys have, that you have some clothing that you know you're never going to use again? Resin? Yeah, see? So it's that common a problem, and yet no one was telling me the solution for it. And so that led me to sort of look around for, who is working on this, so I could sort of, put my things to a better use. But what I did find out in course of this research was that fabric wastage is actually a huge socio-environmental problem. So the World Economic Forum states that up to 60% of clothes that we're producing nowadays is actually lying around somewhere like this, wasted, unused. That's the extent of how much wastage we are creating. And yet most of us don't know that every time a fabric is made, it takes a huge toll on the environment. It takes up a lot of natural resources like water, etc. So, I understood as a student of science, I understood the implication it was having on my world, on my country. And at the same time, we lived in a society of India where the social disparity is also so large. Here we are struggling with the problem of too much, and there are still so many people who don't have enough and who need more options of work. So I just felt that somehow all this had to come together. And that's how 12 Store started. This is actually the story of how 12 Store started to solve this problem. As Sir rightly said, that's what an entrepreneur does. If they see a certain problem or something is stuck somewhere, they just have to, get down to it and solve it. And that's what we started to do at 12. So at 12, we collect all your unwanted clothing, fabrics, all those who raise their hand that they have those unwanted things. You can just send it to 12 and we reward you for sending that to us. And with all that we collect, a part of this is given to those who need it in the slums and rural areas of India. And the rest of the material, more importantly, is upcycled. It's all upcycled and remade into a new range of products. And this entire work is done by the rural women. So it gives them also a source of livelihood. So we make products like bags, accessories, gift items, home decor, and so much more. But these are all eco-friendly, handcrafted products because it's all been made by this sustainable process. And so though the journey of 12 started from this very personal, problem I faced, of course it was a very uphill road because most people didn't even understand what upcycling was or why we should do it at all. But eventually, so many people have come forward and appreciated our work. Be it in India or abroad, we've received so much love and recognition and awards. We've been mentioned by UN Women Asia Pacific. We've been highlighted by so many organizations. We've received the Devi Award from Mrs. Smriti Irani. We've received a felicitation from Mrs. Chandima Bhattacharya in Government of West Bengal. And everyone has appreciated the fact that fashion does not have to harm the environment, that production does not have to come at the cost of, harming our, natural resources, that there is scope of fashion to be redefined as well in your innovative way. So 12 has just started a small journey, but today I shared this, just the story of our inception with you all, so that you are encouraged to find your own solutions, that you are encouraged to find more innovative ways in which you can make fashion more interesting, more attractive, but more importantly, a little more kinder, a little more understanding towards what the needs of environment and society. And once you do that, you'll see everyone, initially, even if they were not enthusiastic about it, once you do actually, stick to your belief and go forward, you will see everyone will, applaud you and support you. There are so many organizations, groups, be it those who have, felicitated us, be it those who have supported us. There are so many, business groups who've come forward to support us. You will find all that support, but everything starts with that one good idea, that one great idea which will, make a change and have a positive impact on society and environment. So having said this, I think I'll stop talking, and if you guys want, you can of course look through www.twirl.store to see the kind of work we do, as well as some of our products, and some of them are of course outside as well. And I look forward to maybe connecting with all of you later on and hear more about your thoughts as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an inspirational speech. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Harshal Arora. Mr. Arora founded the sustainable and ethical fashion label Tag Dye in the year 2018 with a sustainable approach towards hand-woven fabric from the overlooked pockets of the society. Tag Dye indulge in traditional techniques going back a few thousand years, such as hand dyeing, hand embroidery, and finishing techniques that are exclusively used to make the collection. Tag Dye gets its hand-woven silk and khadi fabrics from rural areas of Bengal and also sources surplus waste fabric from export houses in local region, which shows the sustainable aspect of the brand. Thank you for joining us today, sir. I would like to call you on stage to address our audience.
Yep, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So sustainable fashion is really an interesting topic, and it's also a very tough thing to do into the market. A lot of brands do say they are sustainable, but actually they are not, which I believe. So how did Tag Dye started? When I was studying into my college during my graduation days, I saw a lot of people where the export houses are wasting tons of fabrics, and our local fabrics which are weaved into the rural areas of Bengal are not getting any kind of recognition into the market. Either they because a lot of people, a lot of Gen Z are into high-end fashion, but as well as they are procuring polyester fabrics from H&M, Zara, etc. So to see this thing, and as we know, our nation is a Gen Z nation. So I took an approach towards making the sustainable fashion into a modern touch. So what do I exactly do with the fabrics? I take the silk fabric or the khadi fabric and turn it into a modern design. So basically I launched my label in Kiev itself before COVID. And I made a collection out of silk and khadi fabric over there, and the response was great. After that, when I saw the response is great, I went to Pure London. It's a B2B event under Conscious Fashion. So that's a global platform where they promote sustainable fashion. And when we reached to a global platform as London, we saw, yes, there is a demand of sustainable fashion into a contemporary and a modern style. So yes, people are willing to spend their money into sustainable fashion, and it is a very big thing into a global phenomenon. Yes, sustainable fashion is a bit slow and it's taking its space into the Indian market, but then yes, we have to see the other aspect as well, that it is a difficult business as well. See, we all know what is sustainable fashion. You can Google it and you can get all the things. But then another thing is, if we don't get support from, if our local audience is not educated, like what will be the impact if we don't go towards the sustainable fashion, then this won't come into a real action. You tell me, how many of you guys really buy sustainable clothing? I don't see any hands picking up. How many you buy from H&M and Zara? Everybody buys from H&M and Zara, and most of the fabrics are of polyester. Yes, they are cheap, they are fast to replace, but then you should also take steps towards into a sustainable lifestyle. Just by buying sustainable clothes will not help you give the environment a sustainable approach, but your whole lifestyle has to be into a sustainable thing. You should waste less and buy good clothes, use them, upcycle it, and like our fellow designers had said. So yes, that's the way an approach sustainable fashion has to be taken, because whenever this polyester goes into the landfill, it is not biodegradable at all. What my garments are, if this goes to the landfill, of course one or the other day this has to go into the landfill, but that is 100% biodegradable. So that's the main reason why sustainable fashion has to be promoted. So, and I would also like to have some question and answers if anybody is interested into it. That would be a much better interaction session. Yeah, sure.
So, you mentioned that sustainable fashion, that it is very necessary for us. I understand it because I am in your seminar. But as your target audience, we believe that H&M and Zara, they provide them branding also. They also provide them with the clothes also. Hello?
Yeah.
So they also provide them with clothes also, which is cheaper than probably what you produce and what most sustainable produce. So how do you apply to those customers? Why should they switch to sustainable development, sustainable fashion? Like I understand this because I'm sitting in a seminar, but as a as an customer in India, because in India is a country where people are not very well off.
Yeah.
So how do you approach them to buy your products?
See, that's a very interesting question, because H&M, Zara, their price points are very low. How are their price points low? We need to understand that part as well, because they produce in a huge bulk quantity. They don't provide their laborers with a hygienic and a clean environment to do it. They outsource their production to areas of China and Bangladesh, where you'll see their workers are stuffed into a place. Yes, I understand your point, because H&M and Zara gives a price very low, which is affordable for the team. But how many pair of clothes do you buy from H&M and Zara? Like an average?
I walk into the store, I walk 2 or 3 pieces.
2 or 3 pieces. So suppose if you have a concept and if you can save enough and come to a designer who is into sustainable fashion and can pair up with them with your budget. So yes, they can provide into a sustainable clothing within your budget as well. It is not like these students cannot afford or something like that. And you also have to be a smart buyer. Like you have to buy less and use it more. Because what generally people are doing is they are just buying clothes for a particular event and then they are not reusing it. Maximum people, they are just buying clothes, getting for the Instagram, and then they are discarding it. So that is again filling the landfills. Fashion is the second most polluted industry in the world. So we need to reduce our consumption, which will eventually take steps towards the sustainability altogether.
Thank you, sir. I believe there must be a mistake from my side to not frame the question that way. What I really wanted to ask you was that what sort of a USP do you apply for a customer? Like your USP sustainable fashion, and what others do you apply? Because as a customer, if I walk into your website, I will go to the prices, I will go to that, and sustainable fashion is that. You'll post that you're sustainable fashion. So what sort of other USP do you bank on the customer to have so that your products are sold?
Okay. So like I told you, the way we design our clothing is into a modern style. Like if you go to our website or if you come to our studio or our Instagram page, you will see where the kind of clothing which we make out of sustainable fashion represents a very stylish and a contemporary look. Like the jacket which I am wearing, it is made out of pure cotton fabric. It is hand done. So like this we tend to make our garment or our styling into a very stylish way, so that it differs from the normal kind of the garments which are available into the market and which the Gen Z can approach. I mean, normally if you see there are a lot of ethnic stuff into this kind of with sustainable fabrics and all. So that's what we as a DAG dye made our approach to target the Gen Z market so that they can have the sustainable fabric with a modern look, which can fit into their wardrobe.
Thank you.
Anything else? So yeah, apart from that as well, sustainability is just one aspect. If we have to be ethically correct as well towards our artisans. So what we do is, as a brand, we provide our artisans with a fair wage policy and a clean and hygienic environment as well. We have a studio at Lower Router Street where our artisans get clean and hygienic environment, which is very rare into the case of H&M and Zara factories, where they are not fairly waged, where they are not paid fairly. So that is also an aspect of a brand which you should also cater into it. And apart from that, DAGRAI also sees about its carbon footprint as well, like the transportation and all, which also has to be taken care of. Because if you don't see your carbon footprint, then there is no point into the sustainable fashion. Anything else you want to ask me? So yeah, thank you. You can always visit our Instagram page, and if you have any queries with us, you can always ask us, and we are happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening speech. Our next speaker for the day is Ms. Sneha Bafna, a keen learner, explorer, and designer. Ms. Bafna is a 25-year-old fashion designer and entrepreneur born in Kolkata. She is the founder of Sneha Bafna label, a bespoke and conscious clothing label focused on upcycling and zero waste practices. She is a trained dancer and artist, loves to explore places and different cultures. Also, the very reason she is here, her love for the planet, is at par with her passion towards fashion. Ma'am, I would like to invite you on stage to address our audience.
A very good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm Sneha Bhavna. I'll formally introduce myself. I'm 25-year-old fashion designer and entrepreneur. And I completed my graduation from JD Birla, where I was pursuing a BCom honors degree along with advanced diploma course in fashion from INIFT. Post is, so starting off, my brand goes after my name as Sneha Bhavna label. The journey started about 1 year, 10 months back. If I have to sum up what I do in one simple line, it would be, we are a bespoke and homegrown bespoke boutique. We focus on upcycling and zero waste practices, and also majorly we do made to order pieces. If I have to break it down in simpler words for everybody here, one by one, all these complex fancy terms. First was bespoke. Who here is aware of the term bespoke? What does it mean? Okay, none. Bespoke, in simpler terms, would be customization or tailor-made. It's something very personal. It's made to your size, to your measurements, to your liking. Something that fits you, your personality, your style. Because I believe fashion is something very personal. And it should represent who you are. So that is where the whole bespoke concept came in. The second was homegrown. Homegrown means something that's locally produced. It's something that's locally done in your nation, in your city, by the locally available craftsmen and tailors. So it naturally boosts the economy. It's way more ethical. We believe in fair wage practices, no child labor, and say for the one who addressed about Zara and H&M, If you don't know, their major production units are set up in Bangladesh or China, where the labor laws are extremely poor, and it's miserable. If you do a little bit of research about it, it's actually miserable, and you would want to change your shopping options once you know the story behind them. That is homegrown. The third was upcycling. This is the main term that will take a long time. Who here is aware of the term upcycling? What does it mean? Anyone?
Upgrade it, like not just recycle it, but to upgrade it and make it something new.
Correct. Anybody else? Okay, so why should we upcycle? Nobody? Okay. I'll share a very personal story here. So, Sneha Bhavna label actually I started working on the entire idea and everything in COVID, while we were all stuck, and I completed my graduation in 2018. I was working, and then COVID struck and I was home. And I wanted to shop, like I did not have clothes. I wanted to shop more, but there weren't many options available. I wanted to make clothes. I'm a designer. I wanted to make clothes, but I did not have the chance to go and source favorites. What do I do now? I was rummaging through my wardrobe, my mother's wardrobe. She picked out a few clothes that she wanted to discard. I took her clothes. She's a XXL. I'm a size M. I could easily downsize them, restyle them, innovate them in completely different looks for myself. Boom, I got a new outfit there. One kurti into a top, one kurti into a cord set. That's how crazy it's gone. That is when I started off with this idea. Then I rummaged through more of my wardrobe, and I always fancied denim a lot. I have plentiful of them. So there was a huge pile of denim stacked in the corner, and I did not know what to do or how to make use of it. I could not find places that I could work it around. There were so many. होता क्या है ना कि कभी आपका crotch फट जाता है, कभी there is a stain, कभी there is a blot somewhere, there is some defect. How many of you here have at least 2 to 3 pair of denims that is stacked? आप use ही नहीं कर पा रहे हो for XYZ reason. Downsize है, upsize है, whatever reason, आप use नहीं कर पा रहे हो. So that is when I came up with my first collection, which was the denim edit, where we took up these denim pants that we were not able to use, and we converted them into tops and dresses, jackets, accessories, all of it. Now denim is a very sturdy and a fabric that is actually like wine. It gets better with age, and it lasts you a very long time. And nobody wants to discard their favorite pair of denim, do we? So that is how the whole denim edit journey started, and we started upcycling denim pants into different products. Once we were done with denim, we started exploring what other options we could with upcycling. So anyone here, what can be upcycled? What can be upcycled? It's actually true, anything. It could be a sari, a dupatta, a top, a kurti, curtains, very interesting, curtains, or even chaddar bhi ho sakti hai, pata hai? I turned a chaddar into a trench coat for myself. Yeah, so that's how crazy upcycling is. You can do anything. You just have to bring us those clothes. We can sit, we can discuss your personal style, what do you like, how do you prefer things. And we can turn it around into something that you personally would love to wear. We want our clients to be happy with what they're wearing and enjoy wearing it. And there's so much that's stacked around, there's so much that's lying around, so much idle resource. Upcycling actually, मेन उसका कॉन्सेप्ट यही है ना कि आपके पास जो आइडल रिसोर्सेज पड़े हैं, आप कितने नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज सेव कर रहे हो इसके थ्रू, वाटर एंड एनर्जी, सो मच. So that is how upcycling came in. This was the third, done. Now the fourth one I believe was zero waste. अब upcycling तो कर ली, but उसके बाद भी आपके पास scraps काफी बच जाते हैं. Fashion industry में scrap wastage is immense, and most of them are actually burnt, which is very sad. This again is a resource which can be used up. So I was actually, मेरे को ये पता चला while I was conversing with some tailors, and I got to know that उनके पास जो स्क्रैप्स पड़े रहते हैं, they don't have the resource or ability to use them up or store. It takes up a lot of storage as well. So they actually burn it. That is when we started with the whole zero waste idea. We took up these scraps and we started upscaling them into different products like earrings, necklaces, hairbands, pouches. We even try and incorporate them into our packaging. So, jo accessories ki packaging hai, they are again upcycled through these wastages. Or jo cards use hote hain, we try and upcycle them from waste products as well. So, jitna ho sakta hai, we're trying to reduce the. We're trying to use as much of the available resource and not create more. That was fourth word. The fifth one was made to order. Made to order because I don't want to burden the environment more, and we don't want to burden your scope as well more. We want to produce something that you want, that is asked for. So we produce according to the orders we receive and not store and bulk inventories, because that's a wastage for us, for the environment, and for all of us. We don't know what to do if the scrap is lying around. Which again, Zara and H&M, they have immense wastage that's left over. Immense stock, which is often discarded and burnt. Not just Zara and H&M, a lot of high-end brands as well, for that matter. They actually burn all of it because they don't have storage space or capacity or capability. For them, it's a money-making story. That's about it, about myself, about my brand, what we do. And you can check me on Instagram at it goes as Sneha Bhavna label. Please go and follow, and we can connect them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your journey with us and giving such an enlightful speech. Our next speaker for the day is Ms. Sana Agrawal. She is the founder of Glamour. Glamour is an Indian brand focused on creating sustainable apparel using natural indigenous material like khadi, with an emphasis on the continued sustenance of traditional Indian crafts and techniques. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. I'd like to ask our Hult Prize member to felicitate ma'am. Ma'am, if you could kindly come forward. If you could kindly come up on the stage and address the audience.
Sorry, I'm a nervous speaker, so please bear with me. I'll be looking at my notes quite a bit. I will be talking more about the industry, where sustainability comes in, the market that's there for sustainability right now in the fashion industry, and what we've been doing with Guados as well, and of course consumer behavior. So as we know, the fashion industry is one of the largest growing industries in the world. The last generation has seen an increase in the number of fast fashion brands, which negatively have been impacting the environment and the society. Consumers now tend to purchase clothes at spring, summer, winter, all separately, which is making their consumption cycle shorter and shorter. Fast fashion companies are using blends of polyester, nylon, rayon just to mitigate costs and keep their prices low. This entire generation of buyers have now adapted these consumer patterns of constant buying, as accessibility has become easier with lower prices. Unfortunately, someone has to pay for these prices, and generally the onus falls on the workers and the environment, as Sneha and Harshal both pointed out. Generally, they are the ones who bear the burden of these low prices that we pay for as consumers. In recent years, we've actually seen a shift in the mentality of these buyers, where 66% of consumers prefer to buy sustainable products. This, I'm obviously talking about the worldwide market. This has led to many consumers foregoing fast fashion and opting for sustainable brands instead. So Goados is a brand that was created in response to this shift in consumer perception and to make sustainable apparel using indigenous material with an emphasis on the continued sustenance of traditional Indian crafts and techniques. We began to work on the brand in January 2021, but because of the second wave in COVID, we had to postpone the release of our first collection. We began with the intention of transforming people's behavior from purchasing fast fashion to ethical fashion by substituting these materials like polyester, nylon, and synthetic fibers with permeable natural fabrics that last longer and are good for your skin. We have two pillars of sustainability at Goados. The first is for the environment, where our products are long-lasting and degrade naturally. Thereby eliminating the need for constant consumption and rebuying. The second is that we want to sustain the communities that make these handcrafted textiles as well as the traditional weaves passed on from generation to generation. Prior to Goados, I used to work in the development sector. I worked at the community level in areas like education, sanitation, and hygiene, and wanted to do something to support the resurgence of Indian craftspeople and traditions that have existed for so many generations. We want to promote the Indian arts and crafts which have been handed down for eons and are considerably older than the society to which we belong to today. The fact that millennials and Gen Zs prefer wearing novel synthetic material over traditional hand-woven fabrics, unless it's a festival, is causing these crafts to slowly lose some of their relevance. Our goal is to alter their perception of these textiles and techniques since, in my opinion, they have multiple modern applications both in India and worldwide. We think that behavior change starts early and that if they start using these sustainable items and practices earlier on in life, then they and their generation as a whole will develop into better consumers overall. Given that so many brands are currently taking on several initiatives to move towards sustainability, I find the Indian market very exciting. My impression is that this sector is burgeoning and has a promising future. I don't believe that sustainable fashion has to be a niche or that one needs to pay a high price to have a sustainable wardrobe. We are attempting to make these items accessible and creating collections with affordable pricing at my brand. Although it is heavier on the pocket, I believe it is a small amount to pay to avoid the drawbacks and burdens of fast fashion. We have seen that sustainable fashion is generally targeted towards a higher income group and older demographic, with loose silhouettes and dull colors. With Goados, we want to make sustainability more exciting to our consumers with our design-centric approach. We forecast the latest trends and colors with a strong brand identity infused in all our communication. Our designs are aimed to be competitive and something that appeals to the new generation with modern silhouettes and trending colors. We also work towards educating our consumers through social media in a fun way. We want our consumers to be good consumers, not just when it comes to fashion, but towards all aspects of life, and we want to reassure them that sustainability need not be monotonous or boring. So, is there any question regarding this? Anything about like how to build a sustainable brand? Yes, the lady in front. So, like, I want to kind of, yeah, I could hear her, that's not a problem. So, I kind of want to reiterate some of the points that people said before me. Of course, sustainable fashion, the higher pricing does come from the fabrics. They are way more expensive. Like I said, these fast fashion companies essentially use things like rayon, nylon, polyester because they are very cheap. The second thing is, as a sustainable company, you want to be more ethical. So, you would want to pay fair wages to your workers, give them better living conditions and things like that, which automatically then pushes your costs higher. Apart from that, also like in terms of just overall running of the company, if you run it in a more ethical way and pay fairly, I think your costs cannot be very low. But of course, you can mitigate some of this by keeping your margins lower. answer. Yeah, sorry, somebody else had a question at the back. Yeah.
Yes, actually, may I know the difference between upcycling and recycling? Because I have heard the term recycling multiple times, but upcycling is the first time I have heard. What is the difference between the two?
So recycling is kind of something that you can do as an end product of the cycle. So say you've used a plastic bottle or anything like that. That can be recycled. Same with clothes, right? Like the process of recycling essentially leads to the shredding and bringing it down to its basic component and then recycling into a new form. Upcycling is more about something that already exists, which you just change the, cut, you stitch it in a different way instead of shredding it down to its base like material and then making a completely different product out of it. So upcycling can come before recycling. Recycling is the ultimate form, essentially. And you kind of go back to an original product after you recycle. Any other questions? Yeah.
Ma'am, like if you really want to answer that question, then you can. I really wanted to know the journey behind how did you generate investments for Guados? Like what were the streams, whether it was debt or any other capital or anything else, and why did you choose that?
Right. So I'm actually very blessed. Most of it was my own capital that I invested. We didn't, like I think even Sneha pointed out, a part of sustainable fashion is not having a lot of product and too much like inventory with you. So it was easier because when you produce in small batches, yes, your costs are higher, but then you don't have inventory costs. Essentially, I don't have wastage. We have very small batches, and that is something as soon as we finish selling off one collection, we kind of move on to the next. So we're kind of rolling with the capital that we have currently, as opposed to investing more and more. But my final journey in 3 years will be to look for outside investments, definitely, when I reach a certain revenue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anybody else? Okay, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an enlightening speech. Our next speaker for the day is Mrs. Madhumita Sarkar Guha. Mrs. Madhumita Sarkar Guha, a dutiful daughter, wife, and mother, emerged as a first-generation Bengali woman who happens to be a serial entrepreneur. She was selected and coached by the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Worldwide initiative. She is a mentor as well as mentee at different global forums. She is the recipient of the Enterprising Women of the Year 2021 award from the MSME Minister, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji. She is a much-known face as a speaker, panelist, and trainer at many international platforms like WTO, ITC, FIEO, etc., speaking on gender parity, women in trade, and sustainability. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. Now, I'd like to call our Hult Prize member to felicitate ma'am. Ma'am, kindly accept this token of gratitude. Ma'am, if you could kindly come up on stage and address the audience.
So good afternoon, everybody. I think I'm the only one here with a PPT prepared because I would like to emphasize on what all of us here have discussed just now, and they are very valid points, but I want it to be more visual for you so that the points really hit home. So we are talking about a very important subject matter today, which is sustainability. And believe me, this is the first time that I am in the company of the powerful youth of our country, which can make change happen. And that gives me hope. So welcome everybody. So the very choice of the topic proves that we are ready to pave a path for new fashion revolution, which centers more on sustainability, ethical practices, and preserving our planet. About Luke's living, as they've already told a little bit much, I am Madhumita Sarkar Guha, and I've been a serial entrepreneur for 22 years now. To fulfill a gap in the market, I was in the interior architectural industry, I still am. So to fulfill a gap in the market is when in 2016 I realized that there is so much of a plethora of crafts that Bengal has to offer. India, of course, but then Bengal has to offer so much in woven crafts to the world, and this had to be showcased on a global platform. So I decided to be an exporter. So it was not easy. Nobody in my family knew how to be an exporter. Being a first generation entrepreneur itself has been very tough and an uphill climb. But then slowly what we did was we picked up and researched different craft forms that Bengal had to offer. So we started with the Jamdani, which is one of the most elitist weaving that India has. And Bengal in that matter, it has been a leader in Jamdani weaving with almost 500 counts of weaving in muslin, which was supposed to pass through the Queen Elizabeth's ring, finger ring. So that is the kind of expertise that we had in our country and in our state. So we started with that researching, and then we went on to the Khadi, as to what Khadi is and what can be done with it. So finally in 2016, Luke's Living was formed, and presently we are working with about 300 artisans. And as I said, our expertise is in Jamdani, Khadi, and we make apparels, fashion accessories and other textiles out of it. We adhere to 14 of the 17 SDGs at the moment, and we aim to change the world one cloth at a time. Now, what is this about fashion and sustainability? It is a contradiction, because we say it in the same breath nowadays, but then people are confused as to what sustainability is and if it at all can be adhered to the fashion industry. The two are inherently incompatible and the relation status is complicated. So what fashion companies all over the world are doing is that they are trying to make small changes in their production and supply chain to get into a lower impact on the planet and also to try and save resources. But is that a stereotypical perception or there is truth in it? So here's a thought that I would like to throw at you all, and that is, are you polluting the environment with whatever you are wearing right now? Now that's a very critical question, and it needs a very honest answer from you. So the next time you're buying a garment, or the last time that you bought a garment, did you give any thought to it? So these things really need to be answered if you want to be a sustainable warrior, and it can be anybody. Believe me, as small a purchase like a scarf or even a small garment like a top, when bought, can pose that question to you, and you can answer that for yourself and decide to buy it or rather shelve it off. So we at Luke's Living, we claim ourselves to be a pioneer in slow fashion. What is slow fashion? For that, we need to understand what fast fashion is doing, so that we get to understand the opposite of it. So fast fashion is depleting our natural resources. Polyester, like people before me, they already discussed about it. Polyester, rayon, nylon, all these things are being made at the cost of petroleum and coal products, which are natural resources. So that is depleting it. Climate change, Greta Thunberg is doing her bit, but then that isn't enough. We all know about climate change. Outside, it doesn't even look that it's almost like 2 o'clock now, 1 o'clock now. So climate change, Switzerland, I got a call from one of my colleagues in Switzerland. He is saying that, believe me, Bandhumita, it doesn't appear to be Switzerland because we are almost in our summer clothes. And here in Delhi and other places, everybody is going through the kind of climate change, so we are going through. So apart from that, animal suffering, at this point is animal suffering, so leather, in the leather industry, now there is vegan leather, people are opting for it, giving up on leather. So that is an option, which that is a thing that can be looked into. Water pollution. So water pollution, do you know that one pair of denim costs 7,000 bottles of water? So that's the kind of water that is being wasted to produce one pair of denim, and that too the waste pollutants that go into the water is causing a total imbalance of habitat destruction for the fishes, and the microplastics that are getting into the fishes are getting into us. So we are not just doing that, we are doing water pollution, we are doing air pollution, we are doing food insecurity by dumping them into the landfills, and then again leaching happens and the soil gets completely sodden. And apart from that, the human rights issue, the fair wages, we have already talked a lot about it today, so the fair wages are definitely a concern for us. You have seen, if you are all Instagrammers, you will know that there's these large canvases that come up with H&M not paying its proper wages to the workers in Philippines, in Vietnam, in Bangladesh, in China, everywhere. So there is this greenwashing also which is happening, because these companies, they are coming up with tags, simple paper tags that are attached to their garment, which says that the tag is recyclable, the garment is not. You will not get to understand that, because the tag will say that it's a recyclable garment. So it's a greenwashing thing. So sustainability is definitely something that needs to be gotten into the depth of it. So how do you decide whether, primarily again, since we discussed the fast fashion negatives, let's then understand what slow fashion does in opposition to that. So there are primary 4 parameters where we can judge whether a company is fast or slow in its approach. So first would be the ethics. Somebody already said about it. It is the cheap labor which is used in these numerous factories, and they are mass produced. So once you go out into the streets, you will see probably 5 different people wearing the same top, and there is no uniqueness to it. Whereas in a slow fashion production, it is a clean supply chain with fair wages. Coming to materials, again, cheap polyester materials which are non-biodegradable. That's the major point there, non-biodegradable. So the t-shirt that you would be wearing made out of polyester, or the shirt that you would be wearing made of polyester, will take years and years and years to biodegrade, whereas in slow fashion, the companies are working with natural fibers, silk, cotton, linen, wool, and the blends of it. So it's much more easier to be not sold, it is simply burnt or again sent to landfills. So it is insane. So you can understand the kind of malpractice that is going on. Whereas in case of slow fashion, it is seasonless fashion that we are aiming at. We do not want a particular season to decide what you are going to wear. It is more about layering, it is more about accepting the way the garment looks and then piling on something else, or it's just about fusion. And of course, it is about repurposing and upcycling, like Sana just said. And it is also about the 4th parameter being also about accessibility. So it's easier to buy. The prices are kept so to make it lucrative for you, because a t-shirt comes less than a cost of a cup of coffee. So you are pushed into buying it. But then you will have to give it a thought the next time you're buying a t-shirt as to who it is benefiting and whether at all you need it or not. So in slow fashion, it is more classy, it is more into a niche that we are talking about. Criteria. The criteria that primarily decide if a sustainable fashion brand is sustainable or not. Here we talk about 6 primary parameters, which are natural and biodegradable fibers, like I already said. No polyester, rayon here, just cotton, just natural cotton, silk, wool, linen, and its blends. There are also a couple of other man-made fibers that are coming out, like tencel and others, which are being claimed to be sustainable. Yet we need to see and work on it as to what happens to them in the long run. But yes, the opportunities are there. Then there is the packaging. The packaging of the company needs to be plastic free. So here we need to understand that not just plastics in the form of the garment, but the outer casing or the outer packaging of the garment also needs to be sustainable. The kind of dyes that are being used in dyeing the fabric, are they azo-free dyes? Even better, are they natural dyes? Does it mention the label or the description whenever you're buying it online? You need to check it the next time you're buying it as to what kind of dyes, because azo-free dyes are something which are not carcinogenic. So it directly affects your skin and it directly affects your health. So all the dyeing that we at Lux Living do are azo-free dyes, because most of it is our export orders, and also for the domestic market we need to do it azo-free. Other than that, it has to be low resource consumption, it has to be muscle power over fossil fuel power. So what we are doing is we employ hand looms and hand embellished the artisans, the weavers into it, so that there is a very low footprint, carbon footprint. And it has to be fair, so that the production pays a fair wage and and gives a respectful lifestyle, and no child labor is used. And the sixth, carbon neutralizing. So this is a request that goes out to the bigger companies, that if they can truly try to neutralize their carbon footprints by at least supporting CSR activities and not by greenwashing. So the elements of slow fashion, like she was already explaining, the elements of slow fashion has to be at the core. It has to be on demand and custom made. So the garments whichever you're buying will be ordered beforehand, and it will be made to order for you. It has to be a greener production methods with cleaner technologies and processes. It has to be high quality of craftsmanship, artisanal and timeless design. So you know the piece that you would be wearing or possessing is one of a kind. So that gives you the pride of wearing that particular thing. Supposedly the scarf that I am wearing is a batik handmade scarf on handmade silk. I am sure there are very few people in the city right now who has the same kind of scarf. So that is the kind of pride that you need to carry for possessing the objects that you're buying. So it has to be, like already discussed, fair, ethical, responsible, repairing, redesigning, upcycling. The rent, lease or swap market is really gaining populance now in the West. I think we used to do it in the Indian way, family heirlooms and just passing on. Mummy, aapka ye sari hame chahiye, and then bua, pookie and everybody used to there, and sisters, of course, we used to do that. But now it's getting parlance in the Western world where they're trying to rent, lease or swap. So that too is sustainable. So it's a good thing. And of course, second hand and vintage. So there are lots of these New York stores which do vintage, like our katha work, the katha embroidery that we do, and the stoles that are made out of katha work, it's all vintage. But we did not give much importance to it, but then the Western world, once they wake up to it, they are giving it importance, which is fine. So there's this also thing about circularity in fashion, which is again a very catchy trend word and the talk of the town kind of. So circularity is nothing but these things. It is about recycling, it is about eco-friendly, it is about buying less. Buying less. So greed has to be curbed. It's about not just what you have, it's upcycling it, making it look good and carrying the object that you're wearing with pride. So it is about buying less. It is about taking good care of whatever you have. ये नहीं कि t-shirt पहन लिया, shirt पहन लिया, डाल दिया, मम्मी धोएगी या नहीं धोएगी, and then we just dump it somewhere. So no, it's about caring about your clothes. It's about wearing your clothes longer. It's about repair. It's about upcycling, and it's about donating also. So make that cycle go longer. So let's go to the next one. It's succinctly what we can talk about is that the objectives that sustainability will help us do is that it will help us restore natural resources, it will help us reduce our carbon footprint, it will help us restore animal and our lives as it requires lesser water, supports fairer and safer working conditions, the healthier people and planet is ensured, it ensures child labor free future, and it teaches us to love our clothes longer. Now, a very important statistics that I would like to tell you, because this is really, really important, because you as the frontline warriors, I would like to call you, of sustainability in our world right now. The statistics says that global ethical fashion from 2019, it was valued at 6.35 billion US dollars, which has grown and is now projected to be at 9.81 billion dollars 2025, which is like just 2 years away, and it is going to be a booming $15.17 billion in 2030, a CAGR rate of 9.1, which is very, very promising. So let's all give it a good thought here, because we do have a future in sustainable fashion, and it is sweet. So it's all in your mindset, and it all needs to be decided by you from the next purchase itself. So for us, it was like, what drove Luke's Living into starting a sustainable fashion brand, being into the interior architecture industry for so long? Well, as I told, it was a gap in the market, and the whole plethora of Bengal treasure textile crafts. We wanted to promote it, we wanted to revive it, we wanted to take pride in it, sell it globally, make people understand that this is where I come from and this is what I carry for you. Believe me, when I have my buyers coming in from the US, from Spain, from Japan, from Chile, they come and they visit our villages, and the entire story is captured by them. They are simply amazed as the fact that, Madhumita, this yarn that you are making, spindling out the yarn here, and the garment is being sold in a New York high street store. The entire journey is spectacular. So that is what gives us impetus. We didn't choose to be a sustainable warrior. We wanted to do something. Sustainability came in much later. It's just a nomenclature. Believe me, I'm again reiterating. It is more about your mindset as to what you want to do. Do you really want to wake up, sit up, and take notice that the kind of garments that you're wearing, the kind of minimum choices that you're making on a daily basis affects the kind of world that the next generation will be living in. So please make a very conscious decision there. We have a couple of, these are everyday. How do we provide the livelihood to our artisans? So 300 is a good number, and it's increasing day by day. What we do is we do fair business practices, and then converting the entire textile, because textile in Bengal is a cottage industry more or less. So converting that from an unorganized to an organized setup was very difficult. Not that we have been fully successful in it, but then we do it one loom at a time, one process at a time. So yes, it is more of a daily grind that our weavers and craftsmen and we go out, set out and do, but it is happening. The youth, they need to be this, craft migration needs to stop. We need to have more Jamdani weavers staying back in the state and not going to Kerala to lay bricks there. We don't want that happening. We want to preserve our craft. There is GI tagging that needs to be done to Bengal Jamdani yardages, which is still pending. So that's again one of my pet projects, which I probably will start working on very soon. So these are things that we really need to understand, because craft, it has been there since time immemorial. We want them to be here, we want them to carry on, because unless until they are there, we will lose a greater part of our history. So that is very important. And how we do it? We export, simply become exporters and just sell around the world what Bengal and India has to offer. So resolving those problems, it is a continuous thing, as I told you, and slowly we started out with 3 and now it's 300, so you can understand it's 6 years is what the time we took. But yes, we did it. Interestingly, we doubled our revenues during the pandemic. So you can understand there is a call for sustainable fashion globally, and we were the witness of it. So it really impacted our business in a good way. So we introduced the concept of a mega craft village also in 3 of the districts in West Bengal, and we are going to expand it more. Then arresting the craft by introducing the youth and women. Me being a vocal being a voice in gender parity. For me, it's very close to my heart to get women as weavers into mainstream weaving, because women have always been on the ancillary sides of the weaving craft. But yes, we want more weavers coming in, and you please check out the our Instagram page. You will find a couple of women weavers. I have interviewed them personally, and they are an inspiration. So yes, we want more women doing that, upskilling them, and of course, successfully exporting them. About khadi, I just wanted to touch base on it that we are one of the biggest producers and stockists of khadi in Eastern India. Khadi being the hand-spun, hand-woven kind of a fabric. So earlier, since I'm not a textile person, different domain altogether, but then what is khadi? We buy khadi. Next time somebody tries to sell you something called khadi, please pose the question, I'll give you the answer. It has to be hand spun, hand woven. From the cotton, it is hand spun into a yarn, and then that yarn goes out into a loom where it is hand woven into a fabric. Khadi is nothing else. Please don't let anybody fool you, selling you for n number of rupees, saying khadi, but it is not. So it's very important that you buy the right thing. Somebody was posing a question as to why sustainable is costly. But let me tell you, sustainable is costly. Sustainable is fair. Sustainable is reasonable. So fast fashion is unreasonable. Though they are using the polyesters and the non-degradable yarns and fibers into there, we are paying a premium for buying those things. H&M products, Zara products, it comes cheap. We are buying the brand, we are not buying the product. So here, if you are buying a product out of a slow fashion brand, you are paying for the wage gets at the end of the supply chain. You are paying for the good quality of fabric that you would be putting onto your skin. So this is what you're paying for, not just the brand. Make yourself the brand. The company doesn't have to, some Spanish company doesn't have to earn out of you. So make sure that you're wearing something which is homegrown. So more or less that's about it. These are a couple of our garments. It's one size fits all. So yes, we are very pro body type, positive image of the body has to be there. These are for our Spanish clients and American clients that we make. So yes, we make for everybody. And here I'd like to say, again, reiterate, next time you're buying a piece of clothing for yourself, put a question to yourself as to what you're buying. Okay? So sustainable fashion is something we really need us youth to fight for. Okay? And like that lady, that rapper lady that she says, Tade, main nahi to kaun be? So ask that question to yourself. If not you, then who's going to make that decision on buying? Okay? So thank you so much for listening out to me. And if there are any questions, I would love to answer.
Ma'am, my question is, how do I cope up with the latest fashion trends if I become a part of the sustainable development community? For example, let's assume that I have a budget of 1200 which I spend on clothing every year. If I'm into fast fashion, then I can split it into rupees 100 and I can spend rupees 100 every month, and I can buy different items and which are more apt to the latest trends. But if I become a part of the sustainable development community, I will spend a chunk of money at the very beginning of the year, and then I will have to keep wearing it throughout the year, and as I have ended up all my resources being a student. So in order to solve that problem, I think the whole idea of the new cool is supposed to change, and the minimalistic lifestyle and wearing the same apparel becomes the trend. And I think it's not possible because in India and being students, we can't afford to spend a huge chunk of money at the very beginning of the year and end up the resources. It's only 10 to 20% of the population earns above 25,000. So how does sustainable development solve that?
Wonderful question. Your name, please.
Chirag Jain.
Sorry?
Chirag Jain.
Chirag. Chirag, you didn't hear out the entire thing. We kept on reiterating the fact that sustainable fashion is also about recycling, upcycling, reusing, lending, renting, everything. So If you have 1200, for example, to pay, and you are under the mindset that you have been buying, say, 3 garments out of the 1200 for yourself, so now it is the time for upcycling it, layering it over with other things, use accessories to the fullest benefit. There is so much that you could do with fabrics. Well, we are coming out with our men's line, so please keep a watch out for that. We will be selling you reasonable clothing, sustainable, ethical. So yes, you are our target audience. So it is not about the money that you would be spending, it is about the look that you would be achieving. So make sure that that look is important. Stop that mindset of buying new, naya kapda chahiye. No, naya look chahiye. Uske liye kapda is not important. You can get different looks out of 3 pairs of clothing. Believe me, I'm an image consultant myself and I've studied doing that. Okay? I think you got your answer?
Can I also react to that, please?
Yes, please.
I guess what the other speakers have also said just before this is also this, that, this is an entire concept. It's a thought process. And that thought process is something that you need to decide whether you want to adhere to that or not. You can keep buying the Zaras and the H&Ms of the world, but is that going to make you a contributor to the environment? Probably not. So you can be very trendy probably for 12 months, but maybe not sustainable. So that's a choice you need to make at the end of the day.
I'll be outside, glad to take your questions or even discuss out things as to how we can collaborate in the future. Okay? Oh, yes, please, go on.
Like, again the same question, like, you have started operations on 2016, I believe.
Yes.
And before that, you have done 3 years of research as well.
Yes.
So you must have your plans straight about how you want to develop further. You have mentioned that the market will be $15 and some billion by 2025. So how do you propose to progress further in your brand to generate investments? Like, what sorts of streams will you choose and why?
So interestingly, we have been bootstrapped from 2016 till now and we have been profitable. So I think that says a little about how we have managed business. And yes, it is a growing market, but we recently got ourselves funded with the aim of expanding into the domestic markets in India. We were only exporting and we were not so keen on the domestic because the mindset need to be built up. The people like here, the demographics, everybody had to be conscious. But now I think the Indian market is ripe for sustainable fashion to be here. So yes, we are going to launch into the Indian market in April.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I must have made a mistake to frame my question. I really wanted to ask you, how would you generate that? Yeah,
generate funds?
The capital, yes.
Generate funds? Well, that's a completely different workshop altogether. I think Xavier has to do that once more as to how to generate funds for businesses. It's a different ball game for everybody and it's a challenge for everybody. Yeah. All right, thank you so much and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an enriching speech. Our final speaker for today's session is Mrs. Anita Ganingwal. She is the founder and director of Earthwear, an 11-year-old brand of sustainable clothing and accessories. Ma'am is a chartered accountant by qualification and also a commerce graduate from Lady Shri Ram College, New Delhi. Having lived her entire life in Kolkata, she was greatly influenced by the textiles and crafts of Bengal and decided to make it a mission to empower craftsmen with new designs and techniques and make their crafts commercially viable. Her vision is to make the brand Earthwear a household name in sustainable fashion and affordable Indian ethnic fashion, and in the process empowering artisans at the grassroots level who are the backbone of this brand. Ma'am, I'd like to request you to come up on stage and address the audience.
Hello everyone. So sustainability has really become the new buzzword. Every brand today wants to be seen as conscious and sustainable, but the question is, are they really? Today, a lot of aspects have been touched about sustainable fashion already by the previous speakers, so I already asked for your, tolerance because some of the points might be repetitive. Sustainable fashion is an extremely vast topic and it has to be properly understood in the context of today. I am Vinita Ganeriwala Gupta, owner of my clothing and craft brand Earthwear, and I will be addressing this topic in relation to my brand and the work it does. So what is this sustainable fashion? Sustainable fashion is actually a way, it's a thought. It's the way in which brands create clothing which reduces the impact on the environment, and it is mindful of the people who work to produce those garments. Put simply, it is fashion that is ethically produced, environmental friendly, and fosters the principles of equality and social justice. So there are a lot of examples about how Burberry, Gucci, Versace, giant brands like these, they have made pledges in the past to go fur free in their consideration and need to be sustainable. Following which even the London Fashion Week actually prohibited designers from using animal fur on their catwalks. This is the extent to which brands find the need today to be sustainable. On the other hand, we've already had a lot of speakers talk about Zara and H&M, so I'm not going to say much about how unfairly they pay their, the people who work for them. They employ child labor. As a Zara customer, I personally was quite angry when I first heard about it. Coming to earthwear clothing, when I make a garment, few questions that I try and address are, am I doing my best to support the environment? Am I doing justice to my weaver, my tailor, my hand embroiderer, my artisans? And not to mention, am I being unfair or fair to my ultimate consumer? These are questions that are instrumental in my decision making at every step. So sustainability encourages businesses to frame long-term decisions in terms of all these considerations: the environmental aspect, social aspect, human aspect of all the actions. Not just concentrate on their short-term gains, such as how is Earthwear's next quarter profit, balance sheet going to look like. Hence, when we take decisions on the kind of collection that we're going to be doing, or we focus on which embroidery or fabric is going to be the focus next season, we actually are focusing on which craft or craftsman to highlight for the next season, so that that particular cluster can get more visibility and more profitability and more business, rather than only thinking about our immediate gains. So my journey. As somebody said, Earthwear is an 11-year-old brand. So I have been born and brought up in Kolkata, and I have always been very greatly influenced by textiles and craft skills of Bengal, just like Madhumita. Hence, in Earthwear's collection of clothing and accessories, you will see a slight bias towards the crafts of Bengal. Or even though we work extensively with the craftsmen of other areas also, we have a lot of hand block printers in Rajasthan, and we have a lot of weavers down south. But there is a certain bias since we are here. We are here and we want to first take care of this. We work extensively with women who do this traditional hand embroidery called kantha beautifully in remote villages. We empower and train them to modify their designs and colors so that this craft can be aesthetically appealing to people of your generation and also be commercially viable. Because at the end of the day, if we don't make profits, we don't survive. And if we don't survive, then we can't keep doing sustainable fashion. So obviously, we need to make profits. Through sustained programs of training and community development, we try and empower artisans who make accessories also. Apart from garments, we also make accessories which are table accessories or personal accessories like handbags out of sabai grass, fine reed and madhur maslan, brass also. So these artisans, they get sustained livelihood, making them economically and socially independent. They're able to improve their own standard of living and their quality of life working out of their homes in these remote villages. For us at Earthwear, sustainability is a way of doing business rather than a concept. Our business revolves around sustainable and ethical practices. Some of the few ways in which we are sustainable are, of course, we use natural fibers like cotton, linen, silk. They are natural, breathable and biodegradable. Synthetic fibers like polyester, nylon, they are a complete no-no. We don't want them spending 30 years or more in a landfill, so we choose natural fabrics. We give employment to more than 400 hand weavers and hand block printers at the grassroots level, promoting weavers in Murshidabad, Fulia, hand embroiderers in Bolpur, Barasat, Naihati, other pockets of rural Bengal, block printers also. So we promote their skills and crafts and we ensure fair wages to them, and that contributes to their upliftment. As a further step towards sustainability, we encourage and promote artisans who craft accessories out of natural fibers also, as I just mentioned earlier, like sabai grass, madur. We give guidance of design and color to them so that they can make their products more appealing. These are products that you can also take a look at. Maybe some of them have been bought, like grass handbags and wheat dustbins, planters, trays, bags, storage containers. These natural fiber articles are, it is our attempt to make them more friendly to you so that you can start replacing plastic with these natural fiber products. At the factory production level, we ensure fair wages, no forced or child labor. Health and safety measures are in place. We are a SEDEX Pillar 4 compliant company. We have international certification of all 4 pillars of compliance at the factory level, which is health and safety, labor, environment, and business ethics. In our stores, we discourage the use of plastic and only use earthware paper bags, which can be recycled. Even though they cost quite a bit, we do not charge our customers for it. Also, lastly, we try and charge you the correct and fair price so that sustainable fashion can also be affordable and there is no unnecessary wastage of your resources. Somebody was mentioning that, how do you shift somebody who's using products from these eminent brands like, again, Zara, H&M to sustainable fashion? What is my incentive? There is no incentive except your own thought process. I mean, of course, apart from the fact that they are much more long-lasting and they are comfortable to your skin and all of that, I mean, it's actually the thought process that you are trying to cultivate more than anything else. Whether you want to be part of this or you want to just continue harming the environment. So as consumers, we also need to ask a very pertinent question that am I willing to support a more ethical, sustainable brand, or am I just concerned with a good-looking product, a great brand, an attractive price and display, and the journey and the history of the product is not at all important to me. Next time you're at a mall, maybe you will think before spending, maybe you will want to associate yourself with a more sustainable brand, not just any brand. Because by buying a piece of sustainable clothing, you take the first step towards the environment. As a second step, you take the clothing home, you wash it in cold water rather than hot water, and you reduce energy consumption. And as a third step, you can dry those clothes in sunlight rather than a dryer, which can also save you further resources. The time has come when relationship of a consumer and her clothing has to change. The time has come for all of us to become more conscious. The time has come to do our bit for the earth and the environment as a whole, but of course the choice is yours. You as the youth can start the entire program of sustainable fashion. Rather, it has been started, you can actually take it to much higher levels, and that's what we all expect from you people. My appeal to all those who are part of this discussion today is that please make your contribution towards sustainable fashion by doing all that you can in your small way and integrate it into part of your daily living and thought process. Thank you guys. This is Vinita Gupta signing off, founder director of Earthware and environment friendly, ethical, sustainable brand. I would love to invite questions if there are any. No? Thank you guys. It was a real pleasure to have spoken here. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, moms, for sharing your wonderful insights. As we come to the end of today's session, I would like to request our Deputy Campus Director, Arun Charles, to address the audience.
A very good afternoon to respected Father Dominic Xavier SG, Principal, St. Xavier's College, Autonomous, Kolkata. Reverend Dr. Joseph Kulindai SG, Vice Principal, Department of Commerce, Morning. Reverend Father Peter Arukyam SG, Vice Principal, Department of Commerce, Evening. Masters of Commerce and Department of Management Studies. Dr. Charlotte Simpson Vegas, Vice Principal, Department of Education. Our Professor in Charge, Dr. Tridip Sen Gupta, distinguished guests, working committee members, and students. Hult Prize inspires student entrepreneurs to solve the world's biggest issues through innovative social enterprises with positive global impact. Through the year-long competition, over 100,000 students in 120 countries work to create high-impact startups that address the annual challenge in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Finalists pitch their businesses to a panel of expert judges, and the winning team receives $1 million in funding to make their idea a reality. On-campus program serves as one of the first phases of the annual Hult Prize competition. The goal of every on-campus program is to inspire student entrepreneurs to solve the world's biggest challenges through innovative social enterprise with positive global impact. The Hult Prize on-campus program brings the Hult Prize directly to universities and colleges around the world. The winning teams of the on-campus program get a chance to qualify to the quarterfinals and pitch live at one of the Hult Prize summits. For us, it would be held in Mumbai. Each year, the Hult Prize challenges students across the world to solve social challenges facing millions of people across the world. As we now know, 2023 Hult Prize challenge is redesigning fashion, with the idea of launching an innovative social venture in the clothing and fashion industry to make it more sustainable by 2030. Today's fashion industry is the world's third largest manufacturing sector, contributing $2.4 trillion to the global economy. Over 150 billion articles of clothing are produced each year. Fashion employs 300 million people across its value chain, a sixth of the world's workforce. Unfortunately, all this comes at a terrible environmental and social cost. So, to cut down this cost, I invite all budding entrepreneurs in our college to come forward and redesign the fashion industry through their innovative and social sustainable business plan. So, my question to you is whether you are ready to change the world, to take a step to not only help yourself, but help others. Because we know that the current situation, how it's going with fast fashion, probably in 10-20 years, the whole garbage dumps would be filled with clothes. So it's on you, and as a Xaverian, I think it's our duty to not only change our lives, but to change lives around the people, around us for good. So with this, I declare the registrations for the Hult Prize OnCampus Program 2023 open. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. Even though today's event has come to an end, a door of opportunities has opened. I'd like to request our Professor in Charge, Dr. Tridip Sen Gupta, of the stage to address the audience.
Very good afternoon to all present here. The distinguished speakers with their own great success story. Thank you very much for coming here to share with the young minds who are gearing up for the Hult on-campus round on the 24th and 25th of February. And the bright young faces I see, my dear students. It was a pleasure hosting you this afternoon. I hope you really learned something of value from the input shared by our respected speakers here. Each one has achieved such a lot in their respective areas. we have been able to successfully hold this niche event called the Hult on-campus round for the last 3 successive years, only because of the vision and mission of our respected and beloved Principal Reverend Dr. Dominic Savio, who is always supporting us in all our endeavors, and he has an eye on everything, what the students are doing, how long they are working, and he really appreciates that. You must have heard in his opening speech, and the unwavering support of the 5 vice principals whom we disturb at odd hours. You know, fathers are resident in this premises, so it is very easy to access them, and we are disturbing them for our programs all the time. And naturally, like it is said, the captain is as good as its team. My team members have really worked very hard. I mean, unbelievable kind of dedication and effort they have spared for this event, and they do it round the year. Especially the campus director, Mr. Umang Agarwal. Can we have him here, please? Mr. Umang Agarwal here. Let the audience see you. In the middle, please, sir. And his very close associate, the working committee members and the core committee members, Arun Charles, the deputy director. Arun, this gentleman comes from the interior of South India, but he has been very active for 2 years in the digital mode. Now we see him physically active in the college. Pratik Chaudhary, Mohammad Taqir Siddiqui, Taqir, a very active young man. Antara, Sanika, Ankit Kesari, Mohit, Somojit, Sumita, Asmi and Ashi. Apart from that, I would also like to acknowledge senior committee members Vaibhav Agarwal, Zohaib Sehgal, Yashwardhan Sharma, Utkarsh Shubham, Anushka Seth, Diya Agarwal, Arpit Goel, Soumya George and Shruti Mangalam. A big round of applause for all the team members. Once again, thanking the authorities and the august gathering of speakers and entrepreneurs who have graced the occasion today afternoon. Sneha Bafna, Madhumita Sarkar Guha, Sana Agarwal, Harshul Arora, Sujata Chatterjee, Vinita Ganeriwala Gupta. A heartfelt thanks to all of you from the team members and the St. Xavier's fraternity. Have a good day. We'll be meeting soon for the on-campus final rounds in February. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would request our campus director, Umang Agarwal, and deputy campus director, Charles, for the stage,
In the audience, you will fill up your registration and other details in the desk there. Slowly take your time. Don't call everybody together. Just row wise. Okay?
Stay back.
All them, hello. All